Hey everyone, welcome back. Bruce with DIY Homestead Projects. Today we're going to have a look at the YesWelder MIG 250 Pro. This machine was sent to me by YesWelder for a review, and we're going to open it up and check it out. I have never used a MIG welder before. From what I understand, it's one of the easiest processes to learn, and we're going to find out if that's true or not. I have done Flux-Core welding before with the Harbor Freight 90 amp stick and TIG welded. I use the YesWelder TIG 250P AC/DC machine, but never MIG welding. So we're going to have a look at it. We'll open it up. We'll just kind of look at the contents. We'll pull everything out here and show you what it comes with. This machine is also capable of stick welding. It has hot start and anti-stick, and also lift TIG. You need to get a regulator and of course a tank of gas as well as wire in order to use it with the actual MIG. We're going to load it up with some Flux-Core wire that I have in my Harbor Freight machine, and we'll at least try to get a couple of beads using the Flux-Core feature, and we'll see how that works. So let's quit talking about it and get it opened up here. I like the size and weight of the machine. I think it's, well, the shipping label said 35 pounds. This is a 240 volt only machine, which is probably fine. I would have preferred it be a dual voltage, but that's not how they built the machine. The gas line hose. This is a very rubbery hose. The MIG gun. Interesting. Apparently this machine is capable of MIG welding aluminum, and it said that it did not come with the, I think it's a Teflon liner. I'm wondering if this is a liner right here, right inside the MIG gun package. So if I'm lucky, on the website it doesn't show it comes with it. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on this machine. I have a suspicion. So good looking gun though. It's got the European style plug-in on it. The only thing left in the box is we've got an accessory package here. Got some MIG welding instructions, Teflon tape. Looks like there's 3 wire feeder spools there for different sizes and different types of wire. Supposedly it comes with U channel, V channel, flux core wire, and then just solid wire. Notorious Chinese chipping hammer brush. 50 amp 240 volt plug. Nice flexible cable. 1 button interface here, and then, well, 1 knob, and then several buttons for the menus and so forth. There's the European connection. And then when you're stick welding, you'd use your positive and negative for the work clamp and then the rod holder. Or if you're MIG welding, I think the MIG gun is supposed to be positive. I'll have to confirm that. I have never MIG welded. Alright, let's see what we got inside. Sticker on the door for all of the codes of operations and errors. That's kind of handy. Ground clamp. Typical ground clamp. Nice strong spring on it. Fairly thin metal though. And it does have the copper coated strap, and the stick lead for stick welding. I'm sure it'll work. We'll try that out at some point. I'll do a video on stick welding with this machine at some point. No wire whatsoever. So it does have metal parts in here for the wire feed mechanism. Most of the parts are metal. So we've got one here. It's 0.8, 0.6. There's the flux core. 0.9, 1.2 U shape. That's for the aluminum, and 0.9. So that's the aluminum wheel. 0.8 and 0.9. So it's good for 030 and 035 wire. The wire that you're wanting to use, the groove, you want to have that number facing outward as you insert the wheel. So I'm going to use 030, so I want the 0.8 facing me, or facing outward when you put the wheel on. The inward groove is the small one for 030 wire. Here's a look at the wire I'm going to use. This Best Welds, I'll have a link in the description for this. Flux-Core wire, E71TGS. This is the wire I've been using in my Harbor Freight, and I've really been happy with it, and it's about the cheapest wire I can find. So we'll try it in this machine. This was a 10-pound spool, but it's not a new spool, so don't forget the spring. And I want this coming off the bottom of the spool. So this does have a liner in it. So that other liner that came with it must be the Teflon for aluminum. Alright, so the wire feeds into the hole right there. The nozzle just pulls off. No threads on it. This top button over here is the feed. There we go. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how the interface works on this YesWelder MIG 250 Pro. So we'll turn the machine on. Now the fan on this machine does run continuously. So when it's on, the fan's on. Now on the left-hand side, we have a mode button. So when you press the mode button, there's 4 different settings right here. The top one is manual mode. The next one down has an S beside it, so that stands for the synergic. The next one, that's the stick mode. And on the bottom is lift TIG mode. So let's go up here to the manual mode, which is what I'm going to use for this flux core. And then you've got a button down here which is the material. And that'll cover 3 or 4 settings in this column. Currently it's set on flux. There's a little picture of a bottle of gas with an X through it. It says flux right next to it. That's for flux core. The bottom is for aluminum, and I believe it says argon. The top setting I believe is straight CO2. This is the setting for the argon CO2 mix. So we're going to be using the no gas, so we want to go down to the flux core setting. And then you've got wire. The third column, or the last column over here, is different wire sizes. So under the manual setting for flux core, you've got a choice. So on the top you've got 0.023, 0.035, and 0.030, which is what I'm using is 0.030, so we'll leave it set at that spot. Now there is a welding settings chart that comes with the machine. I'm going to weld some scrap 2mm or 0.078 inches 14 gauge steel. So I'm going to set this per the chart, and it calls for 100 amps, 16.3 volts. So the top is volts and we're currently on 16.8. So you press this button right here and you can change the volts. So we want 16.3. That looked like a U up there, but it was a V for voltage. And then we'll change the wire speed to 6.5, which is also known as the amperage. That's why you see a flashing A. So we said 6.5 on the wire speed. So 16.3 volts, 6.5 on the wire speed, that should give us 100 amps. Now if you look at this button up here on the top, this is your, they call it inching, but that's just the wire feed so that you're not making the gun hot as you advance the wire through it. And then if you press this menu button, it'll run through several different menu settings, and I'm going to leave them all set. I'm still trying to learn the machine, so I really don't understand all of them anyway. That's inductance. That goes from -10 to +10. We're going to leave it on 0 just to start out with. Press it again and it goes to 2T or 4T. We'll go with 2T, which is trigger on, trigger off. HS for hot start, that's on 2. RIN, which is the inching speed, I believe. I'm not positive about that. I still need to learn this. BBE, I'm really not sure. There's a chart inside the door that explains these, or at least describes them, and then back to inductance to 0. So we're just going to leave all those set and try the stock settings. 16.3 and 6.5 on 2mm steel or 14 gauge with Flux-Core 030 wire. Now one other thing I wanted to note, this is just for Flux-Core, but I wanted to show you how I have the torch set up. So I've removed the nozzle tip, and it comes with a threaded adapter that goes on the threads so that the copper or brass nozzle will slide on and off the end. And I've coated the threads with Teflon tape like Jody shows with welding tips and tricks, just so that I don't get spatter all over the threads. And I don't get the inside of this tip all plugged up from the Flux-Core shielding inside the wire. It just kind of makes a mess out of the nozzle, so I took it off. Now I am aware that they make a special Flux-Core tip that you can screw on there to protect everything if you're going to use Flux-Core, but generally speaking, I'm only going to use Flux-Core in this machine just to demonstrate it. Once I set it up for the actual MIG with solid wire, that's how I'll be using it most of the time. A piece of metal here, 14 gauge steel. 16.3 volts and 6.5 on the wire speed with Flux-Core 0.030 wire. That is way too hot, just burnt through. For 2mm, let's go to 1.6mm, so that's calling for 90 amps, 15.4 and 5 on the wire speed. So 15.4 and 5 on the wire speed. Let's try that. Better, but still pretty hot. So let's back it down to 15 and 4.5. Now I'm just guessing. 15 volts and 4.5 on the wire speed. 14 gauge. I'll set all these up when I get done and let you guys look at all of them. That one looks pretty darn nice. Let me back it down just a hair more. 14.5 on the volts and 4 on wire speed for this thin stuff. Pretty nice. I need to set my fan up to blow that smoke away from my mask. Haven't welded flux core for a little while, but top to bottom was the first one. Top one was the first one. You can see that it burnt through, and then down to the bottom. But those are laying pretty flat. Pretty darn nice looking flux core weld, I think. I'll cut a piece of this off of here and set this up and do a fillet weld. Let me get that prepped up and we'll come back and check it out. Line that up and tack weld it on there and then run a fillet weld. One side kind of has some paint or something on it, but that's fine. Let me get that done. Real nice looking on the toes, nice consistent bead. 0.030 wire on 14 gauge steel. I think that was 14.5 volts and 4 on the wire speed. With the YesWelder MIG 250 Pro, burning flux core wire. There's the bottom, the back side, right down there. So guys, there you have it. The YesWelder MIG 250 Pro. So far, awesome machine. I'll be doing a lot of videos on this machine, exploring the actual MIG, the metal inert gas functions. Capable of welding, MIG welding aluminum without a spool gun. The machine's $500 on the website. If you use my promo code, which I'll put in the description below, DIYHP, the number 10, and then the percent sign, DIYHP 10%, you'll get 10% off, so you can really get this machine for $450. Now you do need to get a regulator if you want to use gas with it. That's what I'm waiting on. As soon as my regulator comes in, I'll be hooking that up to C25 gas and run some of my first ever MIG welding beads. And we'll just explore the functions in the machine and the settings and try it out and see how it does on MIG welding. I think so far, I think it's a really nice machine. I've been real happy with the YesWelder machines that I have. The TIG 250P AC/DC machine and this one, the YesWelder MIG 250 Pro. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next video.